That was Prince, Little Red Corvette. Good morning, you're listening to 101.5 FM. This is the Morning Magazine, and I've got another special guest in this morning. Warrick is a commercial agent. When you're about to tell us a little bit more about yourself, welcome. Good morning.
Thanks very much, Lucy. Good morning. My background is commercial property, industrial property, and business sales. And I guess I got my experience probably more so over the last 10 years in direct line of work, but prior to that was the last 25, 30 years in national sales roles in the commercial industry. And I liked it so much I decided I'd move into real estate and specialise in commercial, and here I am today.
Excellent. Well, you said you're commercial real estate. Tell us about the commercial property market at the moment.
Well, that's a good question. The commercial property market, as probably most people know, is very similar to the residential in terms of how it's perceived and where it's going. And the commercial market at the moment is still very patchy across the board. We're probably looking at the economy driving most of that patchiness, but I guess anyone that was looking at entering into the commercial market, buying a commercial property, an industrial property or something of that nature, would be saying, has it hit bottom yet? And there's a number of factors you'd have to consider before it has, or considering whether it has. And I think it's getting pretty close. If it hasn't hit the bottom now, it's getting pretty close to the bottom. The biggest driving factor, I think, Lucy, is interest rates. And with commercial property returns, you can buy a commercial property today with a yield, which is an actual return that you're going to earn out of that property, of somewhere around the 9 to 10.5%. And that means if you're borrowing the money, you can borrow the money to buy that property at about 6.5%, because that's what fixed interest rates are. So if you're picking up a 6.5% interest outgoing and a 9.5% interest incoming, then you've actually got a surplus. So you're actually buying commercial property at a profit.
Oh, okay.
And that's what we're looking at today.
That's a good thing. All right. Well, we'll just have a couple of ads, then we'll be right back to talk to you. This is 101.5 FM. This is the Morning Magazine on 101.5 FM. I'm talking to Warrick. Now, tell me a bit about pricing at the moment.
Oh, sure, Lucy. That's a good question, because pricing is, in a way, one of the hardest factors to get. But let me just say that quality property is always in demand. And quality property means that if the rental return is a reasonable rate for the market at the time, and you've got a good base tenant, a quality tenant that's going to stay in business and not go out of business, that tends to be a quality property. So most people looking to buy in the marketplace are going to want the reassurance that you've got a property that they're going to be able to lease out, that is going to have someone stay there during the term that they're trying to gear this property against. And the end result meaning they're going to make a good profit out of it. The last thing you want is for you to buy a property, think there's a good base tenant in it, the tenant goes bust, goes broke, and you're left to lease the property out, so you've got no income. That's a disaster. They're the properties you stay away from. Okay.
Yeah. Development in the area. What have you got?
Yeah, look, development in the area is still pretty solid. It's, according to Moreton Bay Regional Council, they've earmarked the whole area of, well, let's just say the Red Cliff through North Lakes up to Caboolture, down to Brendale through the Pine Rivers area, as they believe one of the biggest growth centres for commercial industrial in the whole of Queensland over the next 10 to 15, 20 years. We've got so much land, we've got great access on the highway, fantastic access down to the ports and the harbour. We probably are in the best position to attract all the major businesses from Australia, let alone just Queensland businesses, into our area. But the economy has to drive it. Without the economy, we're not going to get a lot of driving at the moment. But it is getting to the point where access, availability, council supporting it, we've probably got the best opportunity of any state to get things driving as of now.
Oh, excellent. Sounds good. We'll be right back after this song. That was No Lies by Noiseworks, who are actually going to be at Caloundra Music Festival this year, so we look forward to that one. I'm joined in studio by Warrick. Now, tell me a little bit about the driving forces behind pricing at the moment.
Sure, Lucy. Look, there's a number of factors that influence pricing. I think probably one of the biggest factors, if you're sitting there as an owner in business, you'd be saying, am I going to buy more property? Is this property going to be leased out at a good rate? One of the main factors that you'd be considering would be the unemployment rate. And in Queensland, unfortunately, since last year, that has gone up. Last year we had an unemployment rate in Queensland of 5.2. This year in June it's just come out of 5.7. So you'd be saying, well, that doesn't augur well for a booming economy. And on the national front, similar things have happened. 4.9 last year, national unemployment rate now 5.2. We're starting to look at maybe is the economy starting to go backwards? Well, I don't really think so. I think employment is going to pick up as we as a market pick up. I don't want to talk about the economy, but that's just one of the driving factors if you are looking at commercial property and thinking, am I going to lease it out? The other factor too is that most council valuations, that's your land valuation, are based on your value of your property. And over the last 12 months, we've seen those valuations probably decline by about 7 to 9%. So on that basis, if you had a property worth $1 million, that's land value only, not the improvements on the property, a 9% fall means it's only worth about $910,000, not $1 million. So she's gone down a little bit. And that's another factor that you consider. But coming into the property market, that would be a positive in that your yield actually goes up. The prices are getting cheaper to buy property, but if you're a holder, they're getting to a dropping and a negative. So we don't want to enter that market. But the other probably factor is your leasing, and that's your main one, is your rates of leasing. And rates of leasing haven't changed all that much, even though there's more pressure in the marketplace for them to come down. They're staying about the same, and that is that the landlords are trying to get the same rate as they did last year. So if you're trying to get $260 for a square metre of property, this year, even though everything else has gone down, you're still trying to get $260 for a square metre of property.
Oh, okay.
And leasing it out. And that's what's probably causing the market a little bit of concern. Those $260 rates are not getting picked up. People are coming in, doing negotiations and probably riding that down to about the $220, $230 mark per square metre, which all in figures doesn't mean a lot, but when you multiply it out by 1,000 square metres, that's a lot of money you're losing. And they are the concerns that most people have, and I think that drives property pricing more than anything at all. Those three factors: your interest rates, your valuations, and your leasing. So,
okay. Are we seeing any? What about big players coming in to the region? Even, yeah. Yeah,
sure. Big players coming in for development. There is still a lot of confidence in the market, and by that I say a very strong lot of confidence. You've got, for example, Kangaroo bus lines. Everyone knows Kangaroo bus lines. They're probably riding on them now. They had a 3 hectare site down at Pitt Road, Burpengary, that they acquired, and they've got their new depot down there. It's a massive facility. But that was a wonderful support of a booming, so to speak, economy, certainly in the transport sector. And Darryl down there, Darryl Webster, who owns it, has just put all these money into the expectation that our economy is going to get bigger and bigger, and that was a big site he bought down there, 3 hectares, and he's done a wonderful development. But that just shows you the confidence from some of these buyers and businessmen in the market. The other big area is North East Business Park, and most people would have seen or heard about that. It's one of the biggest developments, if not the biggest development, in the Moreton Bay Regional Council. It's 170 hectares development,
wow,
which is a big size, of general, office, commercial. There'll be residential space, but 170 hectares is a massive size for industrial development, and that development has been picked up in part already. I believe there's a proposed offer and taking up of that offer for 23 hectares by Hastings Deerings. They're a big training facility provider for Caterpillar heavy machinery, so they're going to be doing that on that site, and that's a big area, and that's a big commitment. 23 hectares is a big area, and there's confidence in the marketplace, both from people entering the marketplace and people developing the marketplace, because that's what we need, and there's a lot more of that going on. Biz Park down towards North Lakes and others are showing signs that they believe the economy is going to be booming. We're going to be booming, and our region is going to be strong as ever and growing.
Well, that's good to hear. Well, you are listening to 101.5. We'll be right back after this song. We're almost at the end of our program, but Warrick, you did tell me a little bit before that you are in business broking. Tell me a bit more.
That's right, Lucy. In addition to just commercial and industrial, I do businesses. That is, anyone out there that's got their own business are probably thinking, gee, how am I going to sell this? What's happening in business? Is the market deteriorating? Should I stay here? What have I got to do? Well, one of my specialties is obviously selling businesses, but concentrating more on the end of let's prepare it for the market, let's have a look at what the business is doing at the moment, and let's actually get the facts together, all the data together, and let's see if that business can be sold to someone that wants to buy. And like anyone out there, if you want to buy a business, you want to know everything about that business before you actually come in. Well, the biggest fault, I think, with a lot of people selling businesses is they don't know that information. They don't know what a buyer wants. They only know that they want to get out. And a buyer isn't going to be attracted to a business unless that business is styled, presented, and all the facts are right for the presentation to be made so the sale can be made. That's what I specialise in. That's one of the areas I think that it probably needs some more work on, and I'd happy to come back and talk on segments of this nature in a little bit more detail and explain to people what they really need. But most important thing is find out what your business is all about. Make sure you've got it styled, you've got it presented, you've got all the facts and figures if you're going to be selling it. And if you're going to be staying in the business, do it all anyway, because one day you're going to be wanting to sell and you're going to need a succession plan or whatever the case might be. That's the sort of thing you need prepared. Your accountants can do it, but more the styling needs to be along the lines of selling. Is my business going to be appealing? And I can make it appealing if it's got the structure. If it's not there, I can't touch it. It's just not going to work. But I can tell you, and that's the sort of thing that people need to know. So if they want to come and see me at R&W down there at Caboolture, I can go and talk to them. I can tell them whether their business is going to be viable, and I can talk to them about commercial opportunities, leasing and industrial properties as well. So,
well, thank you very much for coming in and giving us a lot of information this morning.
It's a pleasure, Lucy. Thank you very much for the opportunity to be able to present.
No problem.